back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome to day 4 of 12 Days of Bookmas. I hope that you guys are enjoying the series. Again, I'm having so much fun at putting these together and thinking out new and fun ideas to share with you guys today. And this video, I have a feeling, is going to be quite a long one, so buckle your seatbelts. We're going to have quite a wild ride and quite a trip down memory lane. So I saw this video from one of the other YouTubers that I watch, and that is This Story Ain't Over, and she did a reaction to her year's worth of TBRs to figure out the books that she didn't end up reading on those TBRs, ones that she would still like to read, and books to prioritize in the new year. And I really like that idea, so I will be taking a rendition of that as well, and just sharing with you guys my TBRs and figuring out if there's some books that I really want to prioritize that I just didn't get around to reading on those TBRs. So we're going to start with my very first TBR, which was my March TBR, and then we'll travel all the way through until November. Obviously, we won't talk about December because I'm still right in the middle of it and have not finished as many books as I would have wanted. But overall, I think I did read most of the books on the TBRs that I set, so cross our fingers. Hopefully that's true, but we will definitely see. If you hear Bailey's little tippy tappies, she's running around the house today, and we're just gonna deal with the tippy tappies. But other than that, without further ado, it's going to be a long video, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, I have my AirPods in and I'm ready to do some reacting, so let's do this. Again, that is very loud in my ears. We're just going to skip all the chitter chatter and get right into my picks. Okay, so first and foremost, this TBR was for the Spring Into Reading-a-thon, so a lot of the prompts that were in that I finished, so we'll just kind of skip through those really quickly. The Playground, I did read, DNF'd it, did not like it. The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks, I did read that, and I loved that. Cried like a big old baby. Crazy Rich Asians is another book that I put on this TBR, and I did read that. Again, did not like it. 3 of the books that I put on the prompts for Spring Into Reading-a-thon, I really didn't enjoy, so moving on. Okay, now we have The Right Swipe. I did read that, and I loved it. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, another book that I really did not enjoy, but it's okay. Alright, up next we have The Wicked King by Holly Black, and I did read that. Really enjoyed that as well. If I'm Being Honest by Austin Wimberly and Emily Wimberly and Austin Siegmund Broca. I read that and really enjoyed that one as well. Assassin's Apprentice, I did read that. I didn't love it, but I read it. Overall, I would continue on with the series, but just not anytime soon. We have Inside Out and Back Again. I did read this. I gave it a 3-star. I ended up unhauling it. Not my favorite book that I've ever read, but I did read it. Then we have Slay by Whitney Morris. Loved that book. I ended up reading it through the library and having to buy myself my own physical copy because it was amazing. Alright, now we have Women Who Run with Wolves, and I haven't even touched this book yet. It is definitely a book that I do want to read. I just don't know if I'm ever gonna just like sit down and read it in one sitting. I think it's definitely a book that I just have to span out over months and months to read, but I just don't like reading like that. So it's been a project for me that I just haven't wanted to tackle, but I do still want to read this, so I am going to put this on my list for 2021. We have 50 Shades Freed. I did finish off my reread of the series, so no worries about that one. Let's move right along. This is another book that I picked up from the library. It's called The Summer I Found You. I did read that, gave that 3 stars. It was okay, but I did read it. Ooh, Anna Kay. I did read this. I did not like it. Yeah, needless to say, that was my favorite book. There goes Bailey. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It was okay. Oh, the TBR jar. I haven't done that in a long time. I kind of missed that. Oh, The Falconer. Boy, did I read that, and I hated that book. I've talked about hating that book so many times on my channel. I did not like that. Not in the slightest. I also read Inception, and I also did not like that. So, I mean, this was not a good reading month for me, I think. However, I did read The Last Magician, and I loved that book. That's one of my favorite books of the year. So good. So good. Okay. The next book that's on here is Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. And I read a couple of pages of this, and ultimately just didn't like the writing style, so I DNF'd it. I didn't really read enough to I call it a DNF, but I will not be picking this back up. So, yeah. It looks like the next book I have here is Geekerella by Ashleyposton. I did read this and really enjoyed it. We'll definitely read more in the companion novel series, but overall, love that book. Alright, that is the first TBR done. So, overall, I only didn't read 2 books, and one of them I have no interest in like rereading, so, or picking back up again. So honestly, not too bad for the month of March, seeing as how many books I put on that freaking TBR. Let's go ahead and move into April. All right, we are now into April. Let's see what we did here. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, I did read that. Moving on. All right, Percy Jackson and the, is that the Lightning Thief? Yeah. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I did read that. I actually read 3 books in that series during a 24-hour readathon. So, yep, that one got taken care of for sure. Throne of Glass. I don't think I read Throne of Glass in this particular month of reading, but I did read it. So, you guys already know how I feel about Sarah J. Maas. Nothing is new. Nothing has changed. Moving on. Okay, so Vampire Academy. I did not read this book. I have not started my reread of the series. I'm very sad about it, honestly. Not my best, but I do still really want to reread the series, so we'll definitely put that on my list as well. Then we have Marked by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, and yes, I did read this. Again, not my favorite book series in the world, but I will definitely continue on with my reread of the series at some point. I just have so many fantastic books on my bookshelves that I just haven't been pulled to pick up the series again, but I will. All right, up next we have Clockwork Angel, which I did read. I actually am now 2 books done with the series. I read Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince. All I have left is Clockwork Princess, so I'm doing good with that series for sure. Then we have The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I finished my entire reread of that series, so we're good there. Shadow and Bone. Ooh, no, I have not read Shadow and Bone. I desperately want to read some Leigh Bardugo. I really wanted to do that this year, but unfortunately, it didn't happen, so let's add that to the list. Okay, The Diviners by Luba Bray. It is on my TBR this month. I'm hoping that I'm still going to have time to get around to it, but I desperately still want to read that. I've heard so many great things about the series, and I need to know what it's all about. All right, then we have House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I didn't read it in the month of April, but I did read it. Obviously, you guys know that, so let's go ahead and move on. All right, we just talked about Leigh Bardugo. Obviously, I haven't read this. Ninth House. This is another one that I've heard really mixed reviews on. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but I'm really curious to see where I land in that spectrum of love-hate, because I've heard really, really good things about the series, but some people just didn't love it. So I'm really excited to try this out. Definitely one that I'm hoping to read in like October, because it just gives me creepy, spooky vibes, and I'm here for it. All right, then we have The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. Again, a book that I do want to read. I just haven't been pulled to it since the first couple of months that I had picked it up from Book of the Month. I was super like intrigued by it and really wanted to read it. And now I'm like not super drawn to the book, but I still do really want to read it. I think the concept of the book is cool, but I've heard a couple of people saying that the execution of the book just wasn't all the way there. So that's kind of almost put me off from reading it, but I do still want to give it a try. All right, then we have The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Again, another book that I did not finish in the month of April, but I did eventually finish out the series, so this was completed, and I loved the series so much. All right, then we have The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell, another book that I did not finish in April, but I did finish it. And I did enjoy this book, but I just didn't love it as much as the first book. I feel like it suffered a little bit from middle book syndrome, so unfortunately I didn't absolutely adore it, but I still will continue on with the series for sure. All right, then we have New Moon by Stephanie Meyer, and yes, I did finish my reread of this series, so every time this comes up in the video, I'll just say, yes, I did complete it, and I really enjoyed my reread of the series. I know the series is very well known for being problematic, and I agree, but if you're just reading it for a good time, like I did, I really enjoyed myself. All right, next up we have Sisters by Choice by Suzanne Mallory, and this is a book that I have gone back and forth on because it has been on several TBRs and I have not once felt the need to pick it up. And I think this is a book that I'm just going to bite the bullet and unhaul because I just don't think it's a book that I honestly, genuinely want to read. I picked it up on a whim, and at the time it sounded good, but now I kind of know my reading taste a little bit more, and I just don't think this is a book that I'll be pulled towards continually. So I'm gonna let it go and put it on the list of books I no longer want to read. All right, then we have Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi, and I did read this. Again, not a book that I read during this month, I don't think, but I overall enjoyed it. I will definitely continue on with the series, but yeah, moving on. That is it for April. So let's go ahead and move on to May. Okay, so May is actually the last month that I have before I get into my TBR bingos. So exciting for that. Let's go ahead and see what I chose. Oh, we moved into the living room now. Moving on up. All right, the first one I have here is Reflection by Elizabeth Lim, and I did read this. I loved this book. It's one of my favorite Twisted Tales so far. I think that out of the 3 that I've read, I like the Beauty and the Beast one the most, and then Reflection, and then the Alice one because I did not enjoy that one at all. All right, then we have Frankly in Love by David Yoon, and I did not enjoy this book. I did read it. It just wasn't for me. I gave it a 3-star. Overall, I think it was average. I won't say I didn't like it. I just don't think the book was for me. I know a lot of people that love this book, and I just don't see the appeal, unfortunately. But let's just say that and move on. Okay, then we have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hingwen. Another book that I read and gave 3 stars. It was okay. I didn't overly love it. I didn't hate it. I think the idea of the book was good, and I liked some of the cultural conversations that were had in this book, but it just overall wasn't my favorite. But I can definitely see why people loved it. I don't think that the Asian readathon, the picks that I picked for that time around, did me of service because I ended up not liking most of them, but Little Fires Everywhere ended up DNFing. So, I did read quite a good amount of that book and I just didn't like it. I think I read about 100 pages, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I like how Shadow and Bone and Ninth House are back on a TBR and I just still didn't read it. So that definitely needs to go to the top of the list for 2021. Wow. Again, Queen of Nothing is on here, but I did read that. I was going to read this for my Two Lives of Lydia Bird is back on the TBR. House of Earth and Blood. Okay. Catching Fire, obviously I finished that, so moving on. Then we have Betrayed by PC Cass and Kristen Cass, which is the second book in the House of Night series, and I did read that one. Yes, I reread that. Betrayed. I love that book. I did read that. It was fantastic. One of my favorite books of the year. So good. It no longer takes the spot for my favorite romance, but it is high up there. Loved that. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I did read that. Moving on. Vampire Academy is back, and no, I have not read that. All right, then we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomia and Yemi, and again, this is another book that I did not finish in the month of May, but I did finish it, and I overall really enjoyed it. I think that me being in a slump when I read it didn't do me of service, but I overall enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to continue on with the series. Then we have Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I read this as a reread for the second time around, and I really enjoyed it. It made me cry like a big old baby, but what's new? But yeah, I loved this book so much, and I will definitely reread it sometime in the future. I also want to continue on with that series because I heard that the second and third books are just as good. All right, then we have Orphan Island by Laurel Snyder. This is another book that I think that I'm going to just bite the bullet and unhaul. I have not been pulled towards it. It's not a middle grade that I have overly wanted to read since I picked it up originally, and so I think that's just time for me to say, okay, let's let it go. It's no longer necessary. So for that one, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to that one as well and put it on the list of books I no longer want to read. All right, then we have Turtle Under Ice. I did read this, and overall, I didn't enjoy it. It was okay. It was a book told in verse, and I just felt like it really needed to be a full-length novel to be better understood, but that's okay. Another book I didn't enjoy, Elevation by Stephen King. This was weird as fuck. It was such a weird book. I don't know what happened. I felt like I went into like a black hole of mindlessness when I read that, and I didn't enjoy it. So moving on. All right, May is done. Let's jump into the first TBR bingo. And it's so crazy to see like this TBR bingo. I haven't rewatched it in quite a little while, but this was like the video that really like catapulted my channel, and it's just so weird to look back on this because it just feels like yesterday, and I don't know, it just makes me feel like, I don't know, sad almost. I don't know. Good times. Mockingjay I read. Moving on. Okay, now we have Veronica Roth's Chosen Ones, and I don't know about this book. I did start it, and I DNF'd it for now. Like, I didn't like fully DNF it. I was just like not in the mood for the book, and I never picked it back up again. It is technically on my pile of shame, but I just don't know if I ever want to pick it back up again. So should this be like one of those that I'm just gonna say goodbye to, and if I ever want to read it at some point again, I can just get it from the library? I'm thinking that's gonna be the way I go with this one. I think that Veronica Roth was part of my teenage years and just doesn't need to be brought into my adult years. So I think I'm gonna put that one on the list as well. Next we have Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Fantastic memoir. Loved it so much. Audiobook is amazing. Can't like rave about that book enough. Then we have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, and overall, love this book. Cannot wait to continue on with the series. It was so much fun. I love the premise. I love the fact that it's like a badass assassin school, and I love like the fact that there's like shadow magic, and I'm really curious to see where that goes. So yes, love this. We'll definitely continue with the series soon, hopefully. Okay, this is shameful, but I ended up picking Heir of Fire, but I had only read Throne of Glass. Heir of Fire is the 3rd book in the series, so then I switched it out for the 5th season, I think, and I didn't read that. So I don't know if I should put Heir of Fire on here since I do want to finish the Throne of Glass series, or if I should put the 5th season because I ended up switching the book for the prompt. But the 5th season is one of those books that I'm really terrified to read because it's written by N.K. Jemisin, and I have read one of her books before and didn't enjoy it. So we'll put both of the books on there because I do want to finish Throne of Glass series sometime next year. That'd be great. And I do eventually want to read the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, so might as well put it to the top of my list and just get it over with, right? So All the Impossible Things was a book that I pulled from my Out of Comfort Zone TBR jar. And these are all audiobooks on Libby that I was hoping that would get me outside of my comfort zone to read something a little bit different. This book actually wasn't available once I went to actually listen to it, so I listened to a different book. I think it was The Longest Road or something like that. It was a middle grade, and I didn't enjoy that. So I have not read this one, but I'm going to keep it that way and just leave it on that list, and if I ever pick it out again, then I'll try again. Alright, then we have Recursion by Blake Crouch, and I did read this, and I did really enjoy it. This book reminded me of Inception so much. That is my favorite book of all time. My favorite movie of all time, and I really enjoyed the book. I think that it was like a one-time read, not something that I would ever reread again, but overall really enjoyed it, and will definitely read some more of Blake Crouch's stuff in the future. Yes, I read it. Moving on. Alright, then we have The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and I did read this, I did DNF it, and I have no regrets. I will not be going back to that ever again. Boy, this book has been on so many a TBR. It's ridiculous. That's Defiance by CJ Redwine. It's actually on December's TBR as well, so no, I haven't read it. Do I plan on reading it before the end of the month? Yes. Will I? Who knows? My gosh. House of Earth and Blood is back. I did read it though. Alright, that's the end of June's TBR. Let's jump right into July, my birthday month. Whoop whoop. Alright, book number 1 in July is Daisy Jones and the Six, and I did read this. I loved it. I still recommend it all the time at work because it's such a good book, and the audiobook. Oh, the audiobook is just fantastic. 100% recommend. Okay, this is kind of confusing. I have 3 books I'm talking about here, but I think I ended up going with A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I did read that and really enjoyed it. So yeah. Alright, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I have not read yet, and it's been on several TBRs, I think, and I just haven't gotten around to it. It is on my 5-star prediction list, and I do really want to read it, so I will definitely add that to my list to read in 2021. Alright, then we have The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu, and I did read this and really enjoyed it. Overall, it was a good book. I don't see myself rereading it, I don't think. Historical fiction is just not my genre of choice, and so I don't see myself rereading a historical fiction, but I did enjoy it. Alright, then we have Archie Volume One, and I did read this, and I didn't like it. I ended up unhauling it. I do have the 2nd volume on my shelves. Still haven't decided whether or not I'm going to read that, but I did read this one, so... Alright, then we have American Royals. I didn't read this. I still want to read this, so we're definitely adding this onto the list. But this is another book that I haven't been pulled to pick up since I put it on a TBR, so I don't know what that says about this book, but I'm hoping that when I do finally pick it up, I enjoy it. Alright, we have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. Loved it, 100%. I think Elizabeth Acevedo is fantastic. I've read every single one of her books, so yeah, that was a solid choice. Woo! Cabin at the End of the World. I read it, hated it. Worst book I read all year, hands down. And you bet I unhauled that. It was terrible. Alright, The Devil's Thief is back. I did read that though. This was the month I read it. So, winner. Then we have The Other People by CJ Tudor, and I did read this and enjoyed it. I think that it was a very interesting thriller. Recommended if you like some more paranormal aspects to your thriller, but also just a good mystery thriller. Alright, and then my sister chose Pride and Prejudice, like a hoe that she is. So, I started it and have not finished it. Am I going to put it on my list for 2021, though? I guess I will, but I'm not happy about it, okay? Alright, and then the last book on this TBR is Redemption Prep by Samuel Miller, and I did read this. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite book, but it was okay. Alright, let's move on to whatever month is next. I don't even know anymore. Oh, now we have ads. Look at me. Look at me go. I really don't want to watch the ads though, so hello. Ooh, the bangs. Ugh, I kind of miss the bangs, I'm not gonna lie. Dang, the bangs look good. Okay, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I did read that. Didn't enjoy it. but that's okay. We'll give her another try, I promise. Ooh, Heartstopper Volume 1. Yes, I read that. I read every single volume in the series so far. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Cannot wait for volume number 4. I'll be pre-ordering it tomorrow, today, sometime. Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron, and I did read this. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite retelling that I ever read, but if you like this type of retelling that's kind of more like a really, really, really big spin on the original Cinderella story, or sorry, fairy tale story, then I think that you would enjoy it. All right, up next is Scythe by Noah Schusterman. Loved it, gave it a 5-star. Was the best first pick for a book club that I've ever seen because it was amazing. I cannot wait to continue on with the series. I'm supposed to read the second book this month, but I don't even know anymore. This TBR is just stressing me out. Ooh, okay, then we have Big Friendship, which I have not read yet. I started it and haven't finished it, so I will put this on my list for 2021 because I do really want to read it, and I think that it can give me some really awesome, like, you know, some takeaways from the book. But I just have to find the time to sit down and do like a nonfiction like that, especially without an audiobook. I just find it hard to focus on nonfiction, so I really have to like set my sights on that one and just get it finished. Plus it's so short, so I just need to get it done. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I loved it. It's my favorite romance of the year. Definitely going on to my favorites list. Loved it, loved it, loved it. All right, then we have Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I did read this. Really enjoyed it. I'm actually really glad that I read the prequel because it gave me a lot more insight on the characters and I really liked it. So cannot wait to move on with the series. Hopefully I can read it this month. Cross our fingers. Nobody knows anymore. All right, then we have, what is this? The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And I did enjoy this. I did read it. And I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought that I was going to. It surprised me, especially because I've already seen the movie. I didn't think that it would hit me in my feels the way that it did, but boy, did it. It got me right here. So good on you, Stephen. All right, You Should See Me in a Crown. I have not read this, but I do want to read it so bad, so we're definitely going to put that on the list for 2021. All right, up next we have Children of Blood and Bone. Again, I did read that, so let's move on. All right, then we have The Sweetest Kind of Poison by Katie Wismer, and I did read that. Really enjoyed it. Love her. I don't know how many more times I could talk about her on my channel before I convince you guys to just read her stuff, because it's amazing, okay? It's amazing. All right, and the last book on this TBR is As Old as Time by Liz Brazwell, and I did read that. Really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to read more of the Twisted Tales series soon because I like them. So that is August. Let's move into September. We're getting to the end, I promise. I'm telling you, when I watch these videos back, it makes me miss the bangs. Ooh. I miss the bangs a lot. We need to go back to bangs, like ASAP. Oh my gosh, Children of Blood and Bone is back. Oh man. A Walk to Remember. I read that, loved it. Good job, Bailey, for picking that. You're good, honey. I did not read The Kissing Game, and I do really want to read this. This came in like one of those blind date with a book things from Barnes & Noble, and I do want to read this. So I'm gonna put this back on my list and hope that I can get to it in 2021. That's the plan, at least. All right, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier. Loved this book. Loved it. So glad that the random number generator picked this because this book, this series, great. Little Duology, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Okay, moving on. I can't get the pen in my hands, right? Mermaid Moon. I did read that for the book club pick, and I didn't like it. As we know, I did read Heartstopper Volume 2 and loved it. Race Here by Kim Leggett. This has been on a couple different TBRs, like unofficial and officially, and I just haven't wanted to read it. I think I think I need to let it go. Sharon might be mad at me for this, but I think I'll let it go. I think I'm just never gonna read it, and I just have to accept that and move on. Never Look Back. I do still have this on NetGalley. I still have not read it. I did start it and I didn't like it, so I think I'm gonna let that one go as well. Look at me, I'm getting better at this. The next one is The Wedding by Danielle Steele, and I definitely need to read this. Eventually, my grandma's gonna kill me and keep pestering me about it until I read it, so I'll read it. Maybe. The Upside of Unrequited. I did read this and really enjoyed it. That was a good pick. I liked that one a lot. Oh, you can't really see that book, but it's The House on Mango Street. I did read this. I unhauled it. I didn't love it. Sorry. Oh, this was the month for Becca's Bookopoly. Wow, I forgot about that. Mermaid Moon, we talked about that. Oh, Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I did read this. I did enjoy it. Thoroughly. Thoroughly.
Roll number.
Children of Blood and Bone.
Okay, and later.
The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I did read that, and again, I enjoyed it. I don't keep my thrillers very often, so I did unhaul both of those, Big Little Lies and this one. But overall, I enjoyed my experience with it. Girls of Paper and Fire, I did read and enjoyed. I buddy read that with my friend Mike, and it was a lot of fun. The Selection. I did read this, but I didn't read this during this month. I read this last month, and it was okay. It wasn't my favorite series in the start of the series in the world, but I did enjoy it. I will definitely continue on with the series. It wasn't awe-inspiring, to say the least. Oh my gosh, Defiance, it's back! I'll read it this month, I promise. Oh, then we have Clockwork Prince on here. I did read that. I actually read that this month, so this is very behind in regards to when I was supposed to read it, but I did read it. Then we have Tiny Infinities by J.H. Dale. This is actually a middle grade, and I do still want to read this. I have an interesting situation with this because I bought this. I put this on my wish list because of the cover, and I didn't actually read the synopsis, so I actually don't know what it's about, but I still want to read it, so we'll put it on the list. Can we all just take a second to look at that stack?
Okay, these are all the books that I'm supposed to read in the month of September.
That's terrifying. All right, September, October. We're already to October? There was a lot of chit-chatting at the beginning of this video, but here we go. All right, we have A Phoenix First Must Burn by Patrice Caldwell. I did read this. Oh, it's not by Patrice Caldwell, it's edited by Patrice Caldwell, and it's an anthology. I think it was like 15 Black female authors co-wrote this, and it was okay. I'm not a fan of anthologies, I figured out, but that's okay. I've learned. Next up is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis, and I really, really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait for the second one. The cover on the second book is just stunning. No words. The wedding is back. It's on so many TBRs, it's ridiculous. And then we have Saga Volume 1. I did read this. I did enjoy it. I will definitely continue on with the series. I do have 1 through 4 on my shelves, so I will definitely continue. It was a fun time. It was weird, but it was fun. All right, then we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I did read that. I enjoyed it. It was good. I liked it. I will definitely reread it next year. It was that good that I'm gonna keep it. That just tells you how much I liked this thriller. My mom had me pick Horrid by Katrina Leno, and I read that and did not enjoy it. It was probably the most disappointing thriller I have read all year. Not the one I've hated the most, but the most disappointing. So, all right, then we have Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I read this, loved it. I cannot rave about the Brown series any more than I already have. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, just go read it. Trust me when I tell you, it's amazing. Thank you. All right, then we have Leviathan Wicks by James S.A. Corey, and I read half of it. Does that count? No, it doesn't. And I will add this to my list of books to read in 2021 because I do want to pick it back up again. I just haven't found the time to do so. So that's going on the list as well. Wow, that was a really short TBR. Go me. All right, moving on to the very last TBR of this video. Let's do it. My arm's burning, by the way. Ooh, I was sick when I filmed this video. I sound terrible. Actually, I'm not even going to go through this very much because I read every single book on my November TBR, and I'm so proud of myself. So we're just gonna fly through this. Stay With Me I read, Renegades I read, The Poet X I read, Head Over Heels I read, The Great Gatsby I read, Cheeky Royals I didn't technically read. I did read it, but I DNF'd it, so moving on. Ooh, With the Fire on High, I did read that, loved it. Of Mice and Men, I read that.
Mice and Men, it is the smallest classic.
It wasn't great. All right, Scarlet I read. This is the month I finally finished it, by the way. It was like months and months ago, but
anyways,
we made up for it. Holopox I read and loved it. The excitement that I have in this video for this book totally made sense because that book is amazing. It's amazing. That's Not What Happened by Cody Keplinger. I read that. That book was amazing. So good. Definitely recommend that one. I did read Lumberjanes. I did like it. I will definitely continue on with the series for sure. All right, then we have Vicious by Ve Schwab. I loved that. Ve Schwab is quickly becoming a favorite author of mine, so good on ya. Then we have Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Loved that. We'll definitely continue on with the series with that as well.
Jay Kristoff.
That was a fun time. We made it to the end. So there were 17 books that I put on my TBR that I didn't end up reading over the entire year, starting in March, and 4 books that I didn't read that I'm choosing to let go of or no longer pursue actually picking those up. So, you know, over all the books that I put on my TBR for the entire year, I would have to say that only not reading 17 is pretty dang good. I don't know about you, but I think that is a win. It's a win, and I'm taking it. I'm taking the win. But that is the end of this video. I am definitely liking these walks down memory lane. I hope that you guys are enjoying them as well. I have so much fun putting these videos together, and I just love like watching back my old videos, seeing my growth, seeing the things that I was able to accomplish over the years. It's rewarding to kind of watch that stuff back. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was very, very long, so if you made it to the end, I applaud you all around. Round of applause. I love you guys so much. I hope that you guys are enjoying 12 Days of Bookmas. And if you made it to the end of this, leave a bird emoji. I don't even know, are there bird emojis? I'm sure there are. Leave a bird emoji because we're flying high. I don't know what that means. I'm delirious. I love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!